So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're gonna take a quick look at the Cortege, which is the second arc gun or the second Necromag gun you can get from the Necroid Syndicate in Heart of Deimos. Now, if you want to get your hands on this Paperino, you first need to rank up in the Necroid Syndicate and then get the Cortege Blueprint for 8,000 standing, follow that up with the Cortege Barrel Blueprint for 4,000 standing, the Cortege Receiver Blueprint for 4,000 standing, and finally the Cortege Stock Blueprint for once again 4,000 standing. And all of these are going to require some resources, some of which are rarer than others, and a damaged part. And the only way to get the damaged parts, as far as I know, outside of trading with other players, is to do the Isolation Vault bounty, where the damaged part are rewarded as a rare drop. And this is a wee bit of a grind, because not only are the weapon parts rare drops, the drops are also diluted with relics and matrices. Now the Cortege is a Mastery Rank 14 Arcwing beam weapon that does 90 heat damage per damage tick. It has an okay-ish 20% crit chance with slightly below average 1.9 times crit multiplier, a fire rate of 12, a 100 round magazine with a 1-second reload or recharge, and a 40% status chance. But that's not all, because the Cortege also comes with a secondary fire, where once you kill at least 5 enemies with the primary fire, you can press the secondary fire, which then fires 3 projectiles, each of which doing 10 impact damage with the actual projectile and 1,000 blast damage in a 4-meter radius with the explosion, and it leaves behind a small patch of napalm that will do heat damage over time. And this comes with a 30% crit chance, an above average 2.4 times crit multiplier, a 16.7% status chance per projectile because this is kind of like a shotgun blast, and very low fire rate of 0.25. Now you might think that fire rate is unimportant on such a mechanic because you charge it up, you fire it off, and boop, that's pretty much it, but the fire rate is so low that if you fire off the secondary fire, it locks the primary fire for a couple of seconds. Now as far as the setup is concerned, I ended up going with 3 Forma, all 3 of which are Vs, so that I can switch between 2 different builds based on what I'm doing. So for the general sort of fuffing around setup, I am running primed rubido lined barrel for damage, dual rounds for multi-shot, critical focus for crit chance and damage when aiming down sights, parallax scope for crit chance, hull bullets for crit damage, then magma chamber for heat and status, and contamination casing and charge bullets for corrosive and status. But if I want to do some Arcwing stuff or fight the Profittaker, I go with this instead, which is running electrified barrel combined with combustion rounds for radiation and polar magazine for cold. This just sacrifices the status, which isn't as important in Arcwing and does nothing against the Profittaker and gives you a lot more raw damage. Now considering that this is a flamethrower, it's kind of like a bigger Ignis, the performance is really good, especially on the hybrid setup where you get a ton of crit and a ton of status at the same time. The damage isn't as crazy as on something like the Mausolon, but considering how much AoE and how much coverage this thing has, it is really solid. But I personally wouldn't take it into Steel Path because the damage isn't quite there. You might be able to brute force some infested missions, but as far as the Grenier and the Corpus are concerned, yeah, no. Next on the menu, we have the Profittaker, where we are using the second config, so the one that goes for pure crit with radiation and cold. And here is probably where I was surprised the most, because this weapon absolutely shreds the Profittaker. And I think it's because, well, it's a flamethrower, so it has punched through and it's hitting the same part multiple times with each damage tick, so it absolutely shreds the legs as well as the brain. I mean, look at this. That's pretty good damage. Like, that's not bad at all. So this was a very pleasant surprise. Up next we have the Arcwing performance, and this is a Steel Path Arcwing mission, so it's pretty high level. And here the weapon is kind of... the best way to describe it is just meh. It doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel good. And the damage isn't bad, but it's also not good. It's just very meh. Though if you're not running in Steel Path and you're just doing a normal Arcwing mission, then the damage is really good. Then there is the Necromag, where the weapon probably feels the best, followed very closely by the Profittaker, because having this much AoE, this much coverage, and solid damage in the open worlds just feels good. And it also bypasses one of the biggest flaws of the weapon, which is its ammo. It only has 100 rounds and then 300 spare rounds, which means that if you're using it with a Gravimag and you don't have Protea with Dispensary or Dispensary infused on another frame, you can easily run out of ammo even in an Exterminate mission. So all in all, it is not quite as clear as it was with the Mausolon, because the Mausolon is just ridiculously good, but it's still a solid weapon. It's kind of similar to the Larkspur, but it's oriented more towards clearing huge hordes of enemies. And while there is definitely some bad, like the grind to actually get all the broken weapon parts, or the ammo reserve, or the secondary fire locking you out of the primary fire, or the damage not being as crazy crazy high as it is on the Mozzolon, there's also a lot of good here. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just like an arc gun version of the Ignis. So while the damage isn't super high, it is very reliable, the reload and recharge are really nice, the weapon looks and sounds great, the coverage of the weapon is great. So as long as you don't intend to take it into Steel Path and do nothing but Steel Path, I would recommend you give it a shot. And that is pretty much it for the video. So I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.